And former Congressman George Santos will report to federal prison today. He will serve nearly 7 years in prison after pleading guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. Santos received the maximum sentence for his crimes in April, along with an order to pay about $374,000 in restitution. Well, the Justice Department met with Ghislaine Maxwell, the imprisoned ex-girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein.
Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking and other crimes connected to Epstein, who died in prison in 2019 while awaiting trial. Her attorney called yesterday's meeting productive, saying Maxwell answered every single question and never invoked privilege.
We're not going to comment on the substance, but there were a lot of questions, and we went all day. And she answered every one of them. She never just said, I'm not going to answer, never declined. You know, this is the first time the government has asked questions. So we were thankful that the Deputy Attorney General came and asked her questions. The first time the government did it. So it was a good day.
The Oversight Committee, the House Oversight Committee, that is, also issued a subpoena for a deposition with Maxwell that's supposed to take place on August 11th.
Well, former President Obama is one of your top D.C. daily headlines for today. The Trump White House is investigating former President Obama with the Department of Justice strike force. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard says that new documents show Russia did not interfere in the 2016 election to help Trump win, and that former President Obama committed treason against Trump, although she doesn't say how. Now, in 2016, intelligence agencies and a bipartisan investigation led by President Trump's Secretary of State Marco Rubio said there was irrefutable evidence that Russia did meddle in the presidential election by spreading disinformation. A spokesperson for President Obama called the allegations ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Will we ever see the Epstein files? On Thursday, one Republican senator single-handedly blocked the Senate from forcing the Justice Department to release the files for the second time in a week. Oklahoma Republican Senator Mullen blocked a Democratic senator's resolution to release everything related to the Epstein case, except victim info and any possible pornography. Now, under the Senate's unanimous consent rule, a single senator can block a resolution on the floor. This is just the latest roadblock, though, on the files being publicly released. House Speaker Johnson blocking all House votes, including the release of the Epstein files, by releasing lawmakers for early recess. And also, 2 federal judges blocked the release of grand jury transcripts related to the Epstein files as well. France will recognize a Palestinian state. French President Emmanuel Macron will formalize the decision at a September UN General Assembly after previously supporting Israel after the October 7th Hamas attacks. Macron now says that he's grown increasingly angry about Israel's actions in the Gaza Strip. More than 140 countries now recognize a Palestinian state, but France will be the largest. 39 minutes after the hour, and President Trump is again butting heads with the central bank before the Fed is about to meet next week to decide on what to do with interest rates.
And an unusual face-to-face meeting with the Fed chair yesterday. The president tried to ramp up pressure to lower rates. Doug Luzader is live in Washington with more this morning. Hi, Doug.
Good morning. The markets are not exactly expecting the Fed to cut interest rates next week, despite enormous pressure coming from the president, and some of that pressure has been delivered now in person.
The 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
The hard hats might as well have been combat helmets for President Trump and Fed Chairman Jerome Powell yesterday. In a highly unusual move, Trump visited Fed headquarters in Washington amid a hugely expensive renovation project there that has already run into the billions, well over budget. With a career in real estate development, what would Trump have done to a project manager with those kinds of overruns?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire him.
But Trump says he is not planning to fire Powell, despite openly flirting with the idea. A firing could destabilize markets. What Trump really wants is lower interest rates at a Fed meeting next week to give the economy a boost, something the Fed is unlikely to do because of uncertainty of tariff-driven inflation.
If the meeting is next week, I'd be voting for a rate cut.
One potential successor to Powell is former Federal Reserve Governor Kevin Warsh, who has made his views clear. But with so much tariff uncertainty ahead of an August 1st negotiating deadline, the Fed is more likely to push any rate cuts back to September. And for the president, the economy remains a strength, but his advantage may be slipping. Our Fox News poll shows that Republicans enjoy just a 1-point lead on overall economic concerns over Democrats. That's down from 15 points ahead back in 2023. And Democrats are now +1 on inflation. And the Fed says one reason its renovation shot up in price is because of inflation, the very thing the Fed is supposed to rein in. Back to you guys.
Okay.
Okay, Doug, thank you. Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
The Federal Communications Commission clearing the way for a major media merger. The FCC approving Paramount Global and Skydance Media to join forces in a deal worth $8 billion. Paramount is the parent company of CBS. The Trump administration filed a lawsuit against Paramount, claiming CBS News had bias toward the president. The $16 million from the settlement will be used, we're told, toward a future Trump presidential library. CBS has also been blasted by critics over canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. As of next May, CBS says the cancellation came over continued multi-million-dollar losses.
Well, the nation's largest insurance company is under investigation by the Department of Justice over allegations of Medicare fraud. UnitedHealth Group made the announcement saying it is cooperating with the investigation. The Wall Street Journal reports that civil fraud investigation was launched into how the company records diagnoses, which led to extra payments for its Medicare Advantage plans.
Well, here's your Florida man story today. A man dressed in a Chuck E. Cheese costume was arrested for credit card theft in Florida. The man was working his shift at the pizzeria when officers arrived with an arrest warrant. He was handcuffed, stripped of his costume, and whisked away. According to TMZ, the arrest indeed happened right in the middle of a child's birthday party.
Oh, rapper Glorilla surrendered to police after they found marijuana at her home while investigating a burglary. Now, she wasn't there at the time. Her attorneys called the arrest, quote, a disturbing window into how warped law enforcement priorities have become. She was previously arrested for a DUI after a traffic stop last year.
Attorneys for Robertson have filed 2 motions in Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. One is for an emergency stay of execution. The other is for the court to hear evidence they say proves his innocence. Back on July 16th, the judge set Robertson's execution date for October 16th. He is accused in the death of his 2-year-old daughter in 2002. Robertson had a last-minute reprieve last year and could become the first person in the U.S. to be put to death for a murder conviction tied to a diagnosis of shaken baby syndrome.
Heads up, we got a recall alert for you, and this time around, it's a coffee pod. New Mexico Pinon Coffee is recalling a single lot of its dark Pinon single-serve cups.
It's like every day. We have multiple recalls here. All right, why is this recall happening? Well, apparently the packaging allows ink to seep into the coffee when you brew it. So the recalled coffee has a best buy date of May 8, 2026. So if you bought them, they say, hey, don't use them, throw them out, or take them back to the store where you got them from so you can see about maybe getting your money back. Do you use Lyft? Would you like to make it more personal? Well, you got an option now.
Yeah, Lyft announcing some new features, letting members pick their favorite drivers and connect with them whenever they're available. Lyft says the feature makes rides more convenient while also allowing customization. A new feature is also being added to let passengers block certain drivers as a way to improve safety on the app.
AI could soon decide how much you pay for your next flight, which could be different than the person sitting smack dab next to you.
Yep. This is Delta Airlines planning to expand its use of AI to set prices. The company says it's not being used to target people or their data, but some lawmakers are calling for more details, claiming Delta wants to personalize prices based on the customer. Delta says AI will be used to streamline price fluctuations based on supply, demand, and other factors.
You know, a new study finds that you may find yourself wanting to do the self-checkout rather than face a cashier, depending on what you're buying. The researchers say that maybe we don't want people at the register to know what we're buying, so it can make a difference if they offer self-checkout. or it could influence whether or not you buy the thing at all. Now, when it comes to certain, they're calling personal care items, sometimes people would rather not have to deal with the person or have the person know what you're buying.
So it's not a
But now I really want to know what you're buying.
Yeah, now we're all
That
curious.
you don't want people to know. More than 120,000 Jeep SUVs are being recalled because of a problem with the seat headrest. The recall is affecting model years 23 and 24 of the Jeep Grand Cherokee and the Grand Cherokee L. Now, Chrysler says the backseat headrest might not lock in an upright position. That could increase the risk of you getting hurt if there's a wreck. Now, owners of the cars that are affected, you'll be notified by a letter in September. All right, so redistricting here in Texas, that is going to affect you. In fact, it could affect everyone in the United States across the country. So we have Shannon Bream, host of Fox News Sunday, to talk about this. And I say it's a national headline because you also have California and New York saying, you know what, we might redraw our congressional maps also. Those are the three largest states that have members in the House of Representatives. So kind of talk to me, good morning, by the way, about how this could go. Because normally there are totally valid reasons to redistrict and redraw your map. But it usually happens right after the census because it's based on population. This time around, I mean, we're 5 years after the census and changing them again.
Yeah, and you've got all of these states talking about how they're going to do this, threatening each other. If red states are going to do it, blue states are going to do it. If blue, if red's going to do it. I mean, the thing is, every state handles this differently. Some of them have commissions that work on redrawing these maps. Some people have a different way of doing it with lawmakers. So every state's kind of its own crucible for how this works. And some of them are limited because of the infrastructure, the framework that they have based on their state constitution or the state laws. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not going to be as easy for one state to do it as another. And, you know, some of these folks will say some of these states are already so, quote, gerrymandered that undoing that would be a really difficult mess. But you're going to see this more and more, I think, as one state on one side of the aisle talks about doing it, there's going to be another on the other side of the aisle. And like I said, there's just no framework or formula that fits all the states. They all have different challenges in trying to do it.
Also, something here that is happening locally that is turning into a national headline as well is Senator John Cornyn, who is in a heated battle for his run in 2026 next year. So he and senior Senator Lindsey Graham filing a petition here. So they want an investigation into former President Obama with these accusations of treason coming from Tulsi Gabbard. Although, has she or any documents kind of outlined what they perceive the former president's crimes to possibly be?
Yeah, we're trying really hard to get our hands on this referral that she made to the DOJ or over to the FBI so we can see exactly what the allegations are. You've heard her speak publicly. You've seen some of the documentation here. And there are, you know, a couple of really critical issues that come up. First of all, we need to know what's in there. What exactly are the allegations connecting all of the dots here on some of these things that we've heard previously? More detailed way, more notes, more dates, those kinds of things. And this report that was prepared by folks within the House Intel Committee that never was seen publicly, that's what we're seeing now. But when it comes to President Obama, it's hard to imagine that he would, you know, you got to manage expectations for people who would like to see him in handcuffs or in trouble. That's probably not happening. You also have the Supreme Court's immunity decision that wasn't just for President Trump, it's for every president out there, and essentially would say, you know, if some of these things were tied to his official duties, then there's going to be immunity. Now, there are others out there like Clapper and Brennan and those folks who say they're lawyering up. They know that they may have some legal issues on their hands.
You have so much to talk about. You are never wanting for topics, and I'm so glad we have an hour with you. Thank you for the preview. Appreciate it.
You got it. Have a great weekend.
You too. You look pretty. All right, so you get a full hour with Shannon Bream, Fox News Sunday, right here on Fox 26, Sunday morning, 7 a.m. or at 8 a.m. after you spend an hour with Greg Grugan focused on local politics, which is huge right now on What's Your Point. Guys?